Hey, what's up? Welcome to my first Solidworks exercise for beginners. Today we will be practicing some of the tools that we learned in my last tutorial by creating this part over here. So to get started, let's go to File, New, make sure you have Part selected, OK. And before I get started on this part, I always like to look at the drawing and pick a plane that I think will be the easiest plane to build this part off of. Now, this top plane here seems to have a lot of detail, and I have a few cylinders that I have to extrude off of it. So I'm going to start on my top plane because that seems to be the one that will be the easiest to draw the part off of. So now that I've decided that I'm going to go to my top plane, select Sketch, and start sketching out the basic geometry of the part. And I'm not going to worry about any of the dimensions for now. We'll add those in later. For now, I'm just going to create the geometry. Oops, I misplaced that one right there. So if I just Command Z, select the circle tool, and select my line tool, alright, and then create the lines that connect these circles. If I double click as I'm creating a line, it'll deselect the line. So you can see I double click to deselect or to escape the line. Okay, so now that I've created my basic geometry, I can go ahead and start setting some constraints. So let's have a look at the drawing. These seem to be horizontal. Okay. So I'm going to set these 2 points to be horizontal. I'm going to set these 3 circles to be equal. And once again, you can just, whoops, yeah, that's right. And once again, you can just hold down the Control key as you're clicking on entities, and it'll allow you to select more than one entity at a time. And then I'm going to make these lines tangent. This seems to be, you can see these little green boxes here are the constraints that you have on the line. So I need to set these lines to be tangent. There we go. So now this geometry is starting to look more similar to what it's actually going to look like. I'm going to add some construction geometry that I can make things symmetrical about, and escape that tool. And I'm going to select these points and make them symmetrical. Maybe drag these out a little bit so that they're not all on top of each other. And let's have a look at what angle these are to each other. It looks like they're at a 90-degree angle. So let's create that. Add a center line there. Smart Dimension tool. I have a hotkey for my Smart Dimension tool. I just have it set to S, so I can press S and it automatically is selected. And escape. And these have to be symmetrical as well across the middle. So I'm going to select those 2 lines, select this, set them symmetrical, and these as well. So now I'm going to create this little piece here. So I'm just going to go back here from this to this, just create 2 lines. And I can go ahead and mirror these lines. This is another way. I don't have to sketch all the geometry. I can just select the center line and select another line and mirror them. And that way they're already automatically set to be symmetrical. Okay. So now let's start adding some dimensions. These circles here are 4 inches in diameter. You can see there's a little circle with a slash through it. That means that's the dimension of the diameter. But if you see a capital R in front of a dimension that's dimensioning an arc, then that just means that's the radius of the arc. So that's an important thing to notice. So these were, let's check again, 2 inches in diameter. Check. And these were 4 inches in diameter. This one here had a 2.5 inch radius, but it's asking me to dimension the diameter because you can do the circle with a dash through it, so I'm going to set this to 5 because the diameter is twice the radius. Oops. I'm going to Command Z that, and we'll come back to that dimension in a moment once I have some more things constrained. So now let's see what distance away these lines have to be. So this is 10 inches. So set this line to be 10 inches. And it looks like these three are all equal distance away from that, so I'm going to select these 3 lines and set them equal. There we go. And now it seems like these lines are are connected to the, there we go, okay. So now I'm going to set this circle here to have a radius of 2.5 or a diameter of 5. There we go. And this inner one was a 3. There we are. Now to dimension this back portion, let's check what these dimensions are. Select the Smart Dimension tool. From the origin, 7 inches. This is 3 inches wide. This distance is 12 inches. And the width is 2.5 inches. Then the last thing is just these 2 lines here, which are 2 inches away from each other. So select those 2 inches. Check. And now you can see my sketch is completely blacked out. It's fully defined, so now I can start adding some features. So the first feature I'm going to create is an extruded boss feature. I'm going to look at my right plane orientation of the drawing over here, and I can see that these 2 bodies, these 2 extrudes here, are the tallest extrudes, and I'm just going to start with them because I'll have a base to build up for the other features. So they are 7.5 inches tall. It's just the cylinder in the middle and this block in the back. So I'm going to select those 2 contours, set it to 7.5, oops, 7.5, and just have it on bind, check, blind, sorry. Okay, and then let's check which one I want to do next. I'll do this surface here, which is 2.5 inches. So what I can do is I can press on this drop-down menu next to the feature, select the sketch, and create another extruded feature based off of the same sketch. So select this contour and set it to 2.5 inches. Check. Then do that again. Select the sketch. Select the extrude feature. Select the contours I wish to extrude. And this one says that it's 1.5 inches above this surface. I already have 2.5 inches here on the extrude feature because that's the last length I just extruded. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in plus 1.5. And then you'll see that it's gone up to the correct height. And do one more of those. Extrude. Select this contour. Now this one is going to be a bit different because you can see on this drawing that it's not flush with the sketch plane. And to change that, all I have to do is go to offset, and then I can offset it by a certain amount, but first I'm going to set it to 2 inches because that's the height of the extrude. And then I can do some more math here. I can do 7.5 minus 2 enter, divided by 2, and that will set it to be centered and in the correct place. So now that I've created this body, the next thing I'm going to do is create these holes and the fillets on that surface. So I'm going to go ahead and select the surface, select Sketch, center myself by pressing Control 8, selecting the circle tool, and I'm only going to make one circle here, the rest I'm going to mirror across. So let's set this to a 2-inch diameter, check, and then set some center lines so that I can use the mirror tool. And that way I don't have to individually place and dimension each one of the circles. I can just do it to one and mirror those dimensions across. So mirror entities tool, select this circle, mirror about this line here, check, and then I can do the same to these two, press Control, select these two, and select the center line, and mirror entities. So now I can set them to the correct dimensions away from each other. This one is 6 inches, and the other direction is 3.75. Check, so now my sketch is fully defined. The sketch lines have turned black, so I can create a feature and create an extruded cut feature. And this time I'm going to press on this drop-down menu and select up to next, and that'll make the extruded cut feature go up to the next face, which is all I want it to do. So check. And before I create my fillet feature, there's one more thing I have to change here. You might notice that in the sketch, in the drawing that I have here, this part of the geometry is filled in. You can see here, it's filled in. So I'm going to go back to this first sketch, create a new extrude feature by pressing on the extrude tool, and select this contour, and go up to surface. Select on the drop-down menu up to surface, and I'm going to select this surface right over here, and that'll create the geometry that I want. Alright, so now to create the fillet features, go to the fillet tool up here, select this edge, and if I don't move my mouse, a pop-up menu will show up, and I can select more than one edge at a time. And the radius of these fillets is 1, so 1 inch, so I'll set that to that, and press check. And now I've created the geometry, created the part identical to the one that's in the drawing, and if I'd like, I can go ahead and add some appearances. So if you go to this part of your screen, select this tab, you can select some appearances. I'm going to go under Metals, Aluminum, and I like the blue anodized aluminum. So, and then if I go under this tab on my display manager, you'll see that it has shown the appearance here. I can right click it, edit appearance, and over here I'll be able to change the color, and I'm going to choose a little bit of a lighter blue. Check. So that'll be it for this tutorial. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments below. I hope you found it informative, helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next one.